Do you like school?
Yes.
Do you like your teacher?
Yes.
Do you think that you're learning a lot?
Yes.
Do you think you could learn more?
Yes.
What else could you learn in school, Kate?
Well, if you listen pretty good and you're a good student, you'll usually learn from what you've listened to, and then you can put about all that you've learned up together and get a lot of things that are really interesting.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob Britt. Mobile County's school system has been in the news a lot lately. We've told you about the controversy surrounding the secular humanism case, the one where federal Judge Brevard Hand banned some high school textbooks from being used. That caused some confusion for teachers and students, but now they're improvising. That case is now being appealed, so it continues in court. But there are other problems facing the Mobile County school system, problems that affect every pupil, every teacher, every school. Education reporter Carolyn Martin has been taking a close look at the system's #1 problem, money. Tonight she has a special report on the funding crisis facing the Mobile County school system.
Well, Bob, our public schools are certainly in a financial crisis. They need $24 million just to break even financially. It's an accountant's nightmare trying to juggle high expenses with low income. Caught in the middle, the students and the teachers. You know, kids used to bring an apple every day to the teacher for fun. Well, now they're being asked to bring construction paper, pencils, even toilet paper. In the next half hour, we'll examine the money problems in our public schools. We'll talk with some teachers and some students, those who have to work around the money crunch every day.
Okay, what's the basic thing that every short story has to have, Sharon?
This is where it hits the hardest, in the classroom with the teacher-student ratio. It's high here in Mobile because there isn't enough money to hire more teachers. In fact, the school board cut back teachers this year to save salary money. Now many schools are overrun with students. They are energetic and eager to learn, but they need a lot of help. Second graders. One-on-one attention is very important here in the lower grades where kids learn the basics. It's nearly impossible for Pat Carter to give individual attention to her second graders at John Will Elementary School. She has 37 students. That's about 10 more than last year.
Is there some way that you separate the city from the state?
Yeah.
With a comma.
Nearly every day, these 8-year-olds are learning something new, and because they're so young, just a few of them can work independently. The rest need individual help with the task, an impossible demand for just one teacher.
Well, there's not time to get to them all, and they have to sit and stay off task a lot of the time while they wait for help. So they're missing the skill.
The high teacher-student ratio is the biggest complaint with teachers across the county. They say this is where the money crunch hurts the most, in the classroom. Mobile County Education Association conducted a survey among teachers at the beginning of this year. Here are a couple of the comments they made about the extra 5 to 10 students they gained this year when Barton cut back. At Kate Shepherd Elementary School, one teacher called for help. We need aides in first-grade classrooms. At Old Shell Road Elementary School, another teacher simply wrote, "Looking for another profession." Pat Carter isn't ready to throw in the towel just yet, but she is frustrated. This is the largest class she's had in 8 years of teaching.
Every teacher wants to do a good job. And you work and you work. We work till 10 or 12 o'clock many nights at home. We seldom leave John Will School till 5 or 6, somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock. And then when the children come in the morning, you want to do a good job. You're here for a certain purpose, but the job can't get done.
Of course, more students means more work for the teachers. They don't get paid extra for that overtime. Here at LaFleur High School, I'll introduce you to an English teacher who's handling one of the largest classes in the state.
Okay, so what did that have to do with the way that the people had to live? In the north, there was mainly what kind of settlements?
Second period at LaFleur High School. Mr. Miller is reviewing his students for a test. It's difficult for him to know just how well they've learned about English literature because there are so many of them. Larry Miller teaches 49 students. This class of juniors is one of the largest in the system. It's not a distinction Mr. Miller brags about.
If an educational experience is to be successful, you have to have one-on-one, and you just cannot do it in this particular atmosphere with, you know, say 45 to 50 students. And especially if you're teaching writing skills and grammar skills and things like that, there is just no way that you can go to each student and deal with each student's problems.
Larry Miller's frustrations are echoed in other high schools. Here are a couple of comments teachers made during a recent survey on class size. At Murphy High School, we are encouraged to conduct experiments in general biology, but I don't know if that can be done with the large classes. Safety is the biggest factor involved. An overloaded Williamson High School teacher caustically wrote, "Please inform me of the time and place of the memorial service of our losing accreditation countywide."
What was the Greater House?
Students say there are good and bad points to sharing the teacher with nearly 50 other kids. A crowded classroom means more discipline, but also more discussion.
You know, you have trouble concentrating on work because a certain group might want to do their work and another group might not.
But do you think you have as much chance to talk with so many students if everybody puts in their 2 cents?
It's not a matter of getting a chance, it's a matter of sharing. And you do have a lot of ideas when you share and share. You might have more interesting questions than this person might have more interesting questions than the other person.
Just seeing these students not getting the quality of education they need is what hurts me, because that's why I went into the profession, was to solve students' problems and to bring them to a higher level and things like that. And there's just no way you can do it with a classroom this size.
Here's a riddle for you. What's 20 years old and holds 12,000 students? The answer? Portable classrooms. There are 400 portable classrooms in the Mobile County system. Today, 12,000 students went to classes in them. If you went to school here in Mobile like I did, some of the old portables we learned in are still being used today.
The pens are what, Emily? All right, now let's look on the next page on using pronouns.
Do your parents know you go to school in portable?
Yes, ma'am.
What do they think about it?
They don't really like it. They wish I was in the main building.
What do you think about going to school in portable?
I think it's pretty nice because, well, there's more privacy and it's not as loud. You don't hear much noise from other classes.
The problem that I have teaching in a portable is that I'm always concerned about the kids. The problem is they're absent more because they are in and out of the weather.
Mary Lou Reamer has been teaching in a portable since she joined the profession 6 years ago. She jokes that means she's not certified to teach in the main building. That's about the only time Mrs. Reamer jokes about her 5th grade classroom. There are serious problems with portables. They're dirty, dusty, there's no room for bulletin boards, and they're a waste of time.
Time on task each day is less if you're in a portable than it would be in the main building. We have to waste time lining up to use the bathroom, or going back and forth to the main building to lunch, or to go to the restroom. There is just a loss of time. The students have to make up that loss of time because we have so much that we have to get in a certain period of time.
Portables mean the students have outgrown the school. That places a burden on the cafeteria and the bathrooms. The number of students increased at Dodge, but the facilities didn't. When we went into the cafeteria for lunch, we found a surprise.
Okay, let's look at paragraph 6.
A class. Mrs. Seebeck's 5th grade class was having to meet in the cafeteria among the lunch crowd while their portable was being repaired. Take a listen.
Is there a lot of temptation not to do your work and maybe just...
Yeah. It is. Because you can smell the food and it's really hard to concentrate on math and all.
What about the noise?
Yeah, that bothers you too. Or just tell them to be quiet, but...
Dodge's Portable City has placed it high on Barton's priority list for a new building. It will cost about $1 million to replace the 18 portables here. That's money Mrs. Reamer and her students think would be well spent. Some kids might go to school and never have to experience life in a portable. What would you say to them?
You don't want to come out here. It's better in the main building.
What interesting person have we met in the chapter?
Across town at Mary G. Montgomery High School's Portable City, you'll find conflicting opinions. Teacher Iris Etheridge and some of her 11th grade students don't agree on life on the outside.
I enjoy being in a portable because lots of times I involve my children in small group activities, and sometimes it gets a little noisier than would be permissible in a hallway class. And I like for my children to have a little freedom in some of their activities.
Do your parents know you have class in portable?
Yes.
What do they think?
They don't like it. They pretty much wish that the school system, you know, we have all these fundraisers. They wonder where the money's going because obviously it's not going to the school.
One of these days when you get older and get married and have kids on down the road, would you like them to go to classes in portables?
No. I think it's ridiculous.
The school board would like to put everyone in a main building, but it can't afford to. It would take $42 million to replace the portables and renovate old buildings. The budget for those projects this year, $12 million. That's $30 million short of what the system needs. From kindergarten through 12th grade, teachers and students need supplies, from worksheet paper for first graders to computer disks for high school juniors and seniors. Teachers normally get $300 a year for supplies, but this year, because of the money crunch, they've only received $80. The school system went further into debt to give teachers that much.
What was the name of the disc? There's a name to that particular disc.
Destination disc?
No, destination disc is the one you're going to copy to.
This is supposed to be a class for the future, but there's a glitch in the computer program at Williamson High School. The problem is simple. There's no money for supplies. The disc being used in this class belonged to the teacher. If he didn't hand them over to the students, they wouldn't learn as much about computers. How has a lack of materials in here hampered your efforts to educate these kids with computers?
Well, of course, I had to be a little more creative. I would think that in a course like this, I would like to see more hands-on. And I think by not having the materials that I'd like to have, we have to do less hands-on as a result.
Mr. Jones volunteered to teach this class because he likes computers and he wanted to pass along his knowledge. Jones says this is the only computer class at Williamson. When his students aren't here, the computers sit idle. There's no one to teach the course, no money for supplies. That makes these students lucky, and they know it. Are you planning to go to college after you graduate?
Yeah. I plan on going to college. I plan on taking up accounting. But I know accounting, everything has something to do with computers, so it's always good to know something about a computer.
And in the ones, we have 6 minus 2. What is my answer? 6 minus 2, Joyce.
From computers to subtraction, it all takes supplies to learn the skills. Second grade class at Holloway Elementary was hurting for simple things like pencils and paper. Teacher Lynn Pullman spent her own money on supplies until she received help, not from Barton, but from private business. A public relations firm adopted her class and now sends paper and pencils every month.
It's just been fantastic because I don't have to worry about the paper so much. We've got it. The kids practice for supplementary work. We get to practice for the Stanford Achievement Test. We have a lot of follow-up activities that we use the paper for. And I know that may sound small to other people, but it really is a big help because what we don't have in the classrooms, as a teacher myself, I feel like my kids need it, so I go out and I spend a lot of my own personal money.
After we first reported this story last month, the adoption in Mrs. Pullman's class inspired contributions to the computer class. Now these students have the supplies they need. The supply shortage is so severe, school officials are getting out and raising money themselves. The school board members and staff recently played the TV-10 men in a benefit basketball game. $500 was raised for supplies, but it won't go very far with 68,000 students.
I'm glad to see our administrators care. I'm surprised that we have that much concern.
This is a fun approach. Maybe people will, take more notices because it's fun, and so maybe they'll get involved more.
Are the supplies really tight in the classroom?
Yes, ma'am. We really don't have that much of anything. It's terrible.
Yeah. So what do you think about this effort?
I think it's good. I'm glad that they're trying to do something to raise money for us.
Basketball games and classroom adoptions won't even begin to address the money crunch in our school system, but it's a start and a sign of a new attitude among school officials. They insist they're willing to work harder, even poke a little fun at themselves. Board members say they're making a new commitment to quality education, but to make it work, they expect the same commitment from the community.
If you're searching for a reason the school system is hurting financially, you don't have to look very far. The answer is right here in Mobile County. You see, the state pays the same amount of money for each student across Alabama. The difference comes from local funding. That's why Mobile County has a problem. Our local funding comes from property taxes, and because those taxes are so low here, our schools don't get as much money as other schools across the state. Out of 128 school systems in Alabama, Mobile ranks 92nd in funding for students.
When it comes to solutions, school officials all talk about one thing: money. Their bottom line, the system isn't adequately funded. It's the public's responsibility. It's the people who will have to pay. How would you feel about paying a penny more in sales tax if the money was going to the schools? Would you be willing to do that?
Definitely.
If it was going to the schools, yeah, it'd be well worth it.
There's a definite problem. Something needs to be done.
Why do you feel so strongly about that?
Because I graduated from the school system in Mobile County.
If we had another tax increase, a small few mills, and there was some way that it could go strictly for the education process, then I would be for it.
Do you have grandchildren in public schools?
No, I do not.
Okay, I read the newspapers each day, and you do what? What's the next one?
Raising the standards of Mobile County schools is in the hands of the state legislators, the school board, and perhaps the voters. Here are the two fundraising options being discussed. Both must be passed by the Mobile County legislative delegation. The first option, raising the sales tax by 1 cent. That extra penny would generate about $18 million a year for schools. This would be passed along at the cash registers without a public vote. It would make the sales tax 8% in most of Mobile County. The second option, raising property taxes. A 10 mil property tax hike would mean an extra $14 million for schools. School officials estimate homeowners would pay about 20% more in property taxes. So if you pay $200 a year in property taxes now, you'll add $40 to that. Because Alabama has the lowest property taxes in the nation, this is the most talked about option, and it must be passed by the voters. Mobilians we talked with said they're ready to pay more for schools, but only if the money makes it into the classroom. Even in the Spring Hill area, parents who send their children to private schools seem to be willing to pay extra for public schools.
And so as long as we know for sure that it will go to the proper people, then I'm very much in favor of it.
Do you have kids in public schools?
Yes, I do. I have one child in public school, and I also have one child in private school right now.
I think that would be okay. Not a huge amount more property tax, but some I really would be willing to. It needs it so bad.
Do you have any kids in public schools?
No, I do not. Our children in private schools.
School board members realize before they can make a successful appeal for more money, they must convince voters the extra funding will be spent wisely. Raising taxes wreaks havoc on political careers. Is the school board ready for the flack? Board President Judy McCain says yes.
We have a responsibility to our children, and whether it's a touchy issue or not, and whether it makes us politically popular or not, we have a responsibility.
Carolyn, at the beginning of the program, we said that students and teachers are having to improvise. Well, they've been doing that for years, trying to work around all the money difficulties. Despite that, Do the people involved in the school system feel they're providing a good education? I know there are a lot of impressive programs.
Well, Bob, you're right. There are a lot of impressive programs in our schools and a lot of impressive teachers. It's just that in this program we've been focusing on the money problems. And the people who are involved in public education in Mobile County feel that things could be even better if they had the financial backing they need. You know, we started out this show talking to some little first graders. Well, we're going to end up talking to some high school seniors. We'll compare their attitudes about their public education. There are a lot of problems in the school system. There is a crisis with the money. Do you think you've been getting a good education?
I think I have. I think the material things don't matter as much to the students. We don't feel that crunch because our teachers, they really care about us and we feel that. And so there's not really a problem there for us.
If there was more money for the school system, do you think it would make a difference? Would you get a better education?
If the tax increase is going to, be the answer to the problem, I think they ought to go ahead and go for it,
Why?
Because we're going to be the next generation. We're going to be in control, in maybe 20 years. And I think, we need to have the education in the background to be able to do a good job.
I think the money is a great idea. I'm sure the school system needs more money for buildings, for rooms, for schools, for school supplies. But I don't think that's going to do much to the students because it has a lot to do with their attitude, not just the students but the teachers too. I think we need to work on the attitudes of the people in the school system and try to motivate our students to do better and expect more of themselves.